Marco, you want to grab that stool over there and you can just kind of sit there. Either that one or there's a taller one over there. Okay. Okay.
Do you have a paintbrush?
No. Yeah, shit, I do. But Tony, can you grab
Another one?
Yeah, and then go that way. It's gonna show you, but at least it's not gonna be like coming right behind.
Do you want that wide again?
Hello. What?
That wide?
No, smaller. There we go. Thank you. Welcome to ceramics. Welcome to ceramics. Does that look okay? All right. So that's like my little intro, I guess you could say. Please turn your cameras on because I need to glance over and know that you're paying attention. If your cameras are off, there's no way of knowing. All right. So today we're going to do a few things. Today we are going to talk about glazing. Okay. We're also going to talk about making a tray. Okay. So anyways, for glazing, project comes out of the kiln, hot, very hot, and you want to make sure that you rinse it because sometimes there's like a little film on it. And a rinse is just a quick rinse. Just put it underneath the water real quickly and that's it. It's nothing like super fancy, okay, or crazy, not like scrub it. And the reason why you rinse it is so that if there's any dust on it, you can kind of wash that away and then you won't have the issue with getting dust inside of your pottery pieces, okay? So I'm gonna do a quick rinse. It's hot. Okay, that quick rinse that you just had was literally the water's coming down, put some inside, swish it around, rinse it out, and that's it. No scrubbing, nothing, okay? The cameras are kind of set up so I can't show you that, but that is how we rinse. All right, then, can you get this? Right. The tip. Whenever you're gonna use your brush with, let's go. Whenever you're going to use your brush for glazing, I like to get it wet. I like to get your brush a little wet. So I like to get my brush a little wet when glazing so that it can not like absorb so much of the moisture that's in the glaze. So I'm just going to get it damp. Okay, now your glaze, it depends on what glaze you use and what glaze you're choosing, okay? Glaze is pretty much like melted, like ground up glass, like a powder glass with other chemicals that make it stick to the side of your clay projects, okay? And what happens is when it reaches a temperature, that's when it gets to the color of, it melts, and that's when it gets to it matures. What happens is clay goes into a firing, okay, goes into the kiln with the glaze on it. Sorry. The project, once you glaze it, goes into the kiln with the glaze, okay? And what happens is it fires up, so it gets really hot, and the glaze actually bubbles up, and then it shrinks back down, and it melts. And that's how you get your clear coat or your color coat or whatever coat that you're going to put on it. Okay? And then, can you see if you can find Remington? Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can we bring him
okay. He's probably just going to lay back down outside. But if he's right there, that's fine.
in?
Okay. I'm going to try that one more time. Is this like strange area? Yeah. All right, we have our project. We have the glaze that we're gonna choose to use, okay? Glaze is not a paint. It's a little bit different, okay? Glaze is not always the same color as what your outcome is gonna be. So for example, this is a brand, Potter's Choice by Amoco makes a brand called Potter's Choice. And this is a cone 5-6 glaze, okay? So you gotta know what cone your pottery is gonna be fired to, and then you get the glaze that is appropriate for that cone, okay? This one is a cone 5-6. This is considered a high firing cone. Cone 5-6 is considered a high firing cone. All right, this one is called Albany Slip, and they give it a number, PC32, stands for Potter Choice number 32. Okay, does the number mean anything? No, I think it's just a number that they have. Okay, anytime you use a glaze from a company, you want to go and read the instructions. Okay, it says shake well before use, thin with water and Amoco gum solution if needed. Apply 3 coats of glaze to cone 04 bisque. So that means I fired this at cone 04, it's a bisque. So I can apply 3 coats of this to this, okay? Most of the times, if you're not firing, that information doesn't really matter. You just put your glaze straight onto the bisque and then I fire it for you. But if you are firing yourself, you need to know what to fire your bisque to. And then we fire our bisque to cone 04. Okay, so this cone 04 bisque, let the glaze dry between coats. Glaze fire to cone 5 or cone 6. All right, Albany Slip Brown flows and breaks beautifully over the texture, but achieves color variances on smooth surfaces, as well as a very fluid glaze. It is also great to use with layering with Amoco Potter's Choice glazes. So if you're interested in layering glazes, so let's say I want to put this glaze on top of this glaze and you want to know what color it would look like, go online and look up Amoco layering or Amoco Potter's Choice layering glazes. And they have a bunch of posters that will show everything that Albany Slip can be layered with and the colors, how it comes out and stuff like that. So that's information that you can look up for how the color will be. That's information that you can go look online to see what the color will fire like if you do layer them. If you don't layer them and you just look up Amoco's Potter's Choice Albany Slip Brown, that's this one, this is what you'll find. It'll look something similar to that. Where it's thick, it's gonna be the that cream color, and then where it's thin, it's gonna be the darker brown color. Okay. Now I chose to use a clay body called Speckled Buff, and Speckled Buff will fire out with some little spots in it later on. So let me show you. I chose to use I chose to use the clay body called Speckled Buff. And Speckled Buff right now looks like this. This is the color when I'm playing with it. Then I fire it once to cone 04, which is like 1900 degrees. And this is what it looks like. Then I glaze it, which I'm going to show you. And then when I'm done glazing it, if it's a light colored glaze, these little spots will come out. That's what they call the speckles. The little speckles will come out. That's iron, I believe. And it'll fire to this other brown right here. Did you see that? Is that in focus? Okay. And it'll fire to this other brown right here that you see. So this is what it looks like once it's bisque fired. This is what it looks like once it's glaze fired. And the finished color is this color. and the speckles will pop through, okay, through those white colors. The speckles even pop through on this darker color. It's just harder to see, okay? And then on the inside, you can kind of see the clear. That's how it looks like. Can you see that? It's kind of hard to see. So here, on the inside, you see some of the speckles. Oh, it's hard to see. But if you take my word for it, then you'll know it's there. So speckled buff, it has a kind of a nice dotted pattern to it. Okay. When glazing, I get to choose what you want, what color. When glazing, you get to choose what colors you want to use. We do not glaze the bottom of our mugs or projects. We do not glaze the bottom of our projects because we do not want it to stick to the kiln shelf and make a mess, okay? So these ones, you'll see how this foot doesn't have any glaze on it, and this foot doesn't either. So this is called a foot, and we don't glaze the bottom portion. When glazing, read the instructions. It says shake well before use. I always like to put my finger on top because I have done it where I'm looking over at Tony, and I believe she was here when someone had used it right before me, and I just grabbed it and I went to go shake it like this, and the lid flew off and half the glaze came out, and there went like $20 on the ground. So, and Tony had to clean it. So I like to keep my finger on top when shaking it, and you just shake it, okay? Shake for about a minute or count to 100, okay? And then after that, then you'll be ready to use it. I'll let Tony shake it. All right. This is the other one. We're gonna shake it too. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, a minute went by. Let's pretend. All right, so we shake it really well, and then once we, I'll tell you, can you shake this one over? Once we're done shaking, then we can open it if it's easy to open. Sometimes they're hard to open because they dry out and they get kind of hard in there. And you can see what it looks like inside. Okay, so you see how that's that color? It's gonna fire looking like this, which is not even, it's gonna fire looking like this, which is not even close to what that looks like. So don't judge the glaze by its color, okay? All right, you guys wanna do this one on the outside or inside? Inside? Oh, we can try outside too. Yeah, let's try outside. All right. So if I'm gonna glaze this one on the outside first, I'm gonna dip my paint. Dip my brush. I'm not gonna dip beyond this area. Okay, I dipped this a little too much. If I dip here, I'm wasting a lot of glaze inside of the brush. So try not to dip your glaze deep inside of that brush. You want to just dip it, so just the tip, okay, of the brush. And that goes with painting any surface. You don't want to dip your glaze, your paint, that goes with any glaze, that goes with anything you want to paint. You just want to dip just the tip. You don't want to dip the whole brush. And the reason for that is you ruin the paintbrush by dipping it deeper than you need to, especially with paints like acrylic, or like house paints or oil, because they're harder to clean. Watercolor brushes, you can get away with it just because it breaks down really easy with water. And that is going there, and you'll notice that I keep dipping. I'm not trying to use all of the glaze that the brush has on it. You just keep dipping it. And then what you'll also notice is when I want to get a nice clean edge like this one, paint off the edge. So here, off the edge, off the edge, off the edge. and it'll stay nice and clean underneath, okay? If I paint against the edge like that, it'll do that, and you don't want that, okay? If you do end up doing that, messing up, get your sponge a little wet and just come in here with a wet sponge and it'll clean it up, okay? So what you see me doing right now is considered one coat. Okay. And the more you glaze, the faster you get. At first, you know, it feels like it's a really slow process, but once you start glazing more, it goes faster. And then you kind of figure out how to make it as even as you can get it, okay? So I'm going to want this top edge to just stop right there. Okay, so that's one coat. How many coats did it say to do? 3. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do 2 more coats, okay? And you can touch the glaze after it starts to dry a little bit. There was I don't know if you saw it here, maybe I can get it back again, but sometimes you get clumps or you get uneven surfaces with the glaze. All you have to do is wait for it to dry a little bit. So this is dry, okay? You notice how I put the brush on top? I didn't leave the brush inside. You don't want to leave your brush inside because it's going to soak up all that glaze. So you set your brush on top so it doesn't get anything dirty. So let's say right here was uneven and I want to smooth it out. Just wait for it to dry and then just come back with your finger and you just smooth out whatever you're trying to smooth out, that uneven surface, okay? Okay, there's an example. You see that bump right there? Later on, once it dries, I can just come in and then smooth it out. But I'm doing it right now because it's still wet. So you don't need sandpaper or anything special. Don't rinse it off. If you absolutely hate this color or you did the wrong color by accident and you're like, oh, it's okay, I'll just go and rinse it off in the sink, well, you're gonna run into problems. And the problem is that the sink, by the time you're done rinsing it off, this clay has absorbed so much water that you're gonna have to wait like a day or 2 before you can actually glaze it with another color, because clay is absorbent, okay? And
Mr. B,
it will absorb the water. Yes.
are there different colors of glaze?
Are there different colors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There are many different colors of glazes that you can choose from, okay? I have here, I don't know, maybe like 30 or 40 different colors.
Do you have blue?
There are blues.
All right.
So the nice thing about pottery is you can do real natural looking colors and you can do some kind of just normal generic looking colors. The natural looking colors tend to make your pottery look, you know, more handmade and people enjoy it because it's a nice ceramic piece. But then you have the kind of the generic colors that are just like straight up blue or straight up yellow or pink or orange or whatever. And those are nice colors too. It just depends on how you're using it and what's the purpose behind them. All right, so that's 2 layers. So I'll come back and I'll add a 3rd layer later on, but now you know how to add glaze. So, another brush. So I would wash this brush out, okay, and after we wash out, you can't even get it wet.
You want me to rinse that one?
Yeah. And then, I'll just put that one in water. Just letting that noise. So after you wash your brush and you, sorry. If it's a regular paintbrush, that has paint here, that has or plastic here, and it's wood, and you leave it in the water, what will happen is it'll absorb and it'll crack the brush. As the wood absorbs, it expands, right? As it absorbs water. As the wood absorbs water, it expands and it will crack the paint on it, so you'll ruin a nice brush, okay? So you don't ever want to leave your paintbrushes just in water, okay? You want to wash them really well and then put them out to dry, okay? All right, so I have my 3 layers on here. Now I want to put my glaze on the inside, and I'm going to use this other color. This other color is called Light Sepia. Okay, it's also by Amoco Potter's Choice, and this one is more of a brownish gray color. Okay, and Light Sepia is really nice for color, because where it's thin it makes kind of a brownish color, and where it's thick it's more of a gray color. Okay, read your instructions again to see what does it say. That's why I get frustrated with autofocus. There it is. Okay. Read your colors. Read your instructions on it also to see what does it say and how to use it. Make sure you read your instructions to see what does it say and how to use it. Okay, this one says apply 3 coats of glaze of Cone 04 bisque. So that's the same instructions as that one. We shook it up already. Sometimes the plastic on the top stays there. This stuff here is pretty good. This is pretty good, so you can use this too. And then I'm just going to go and put 3 coats. There's also other ways to glaze. There's called dipping, where you can dip the glaze inside of a big bucket of glaze, and that will cover the whole surface. The only downside to that is everything gets the glaze on it. Okay, you can use wax to help you so that it doesn't get on the areas, but the wax can be messy and the wax will ruin your brushes. So don't use these brushes for putting on wax, because that will definitely ruin the brush. So you see I just dipped the tip a little bit. I'm not going all the way deep into the glaze. You can also spray glaze. So that's the 3 methods that I use to put on glaze. You can spray it, you can dip it, you can brush it on. It depends. If you have a lot of it, dipping's easy. If you have a little bit of it, I wouldn't dip because you need more. And then spraying, you can do it with a little bit also. Just spraying probably takes a little bit more cleanup. So the least amount of cleanup is probably brushing it. All right. That's 2 layers in there. Or sorry, 1, and then the bottom has 2. And then I'm gonna let it dry a little bit, and I'll come back and add the 3rd coat. After I do that, I am done glazing. Okay, my foot, oh, you see I have a little bit here. I can try to wipe it right now, or I can wait for it to dry, which that kind of dried already. And then I can go and gently scrape off if I don't want any of that there. And if I really don't want it, I can just go with the the brush, and if I really don't want, if I want it super clean, scrape off, go with your finger, rub off. And then you can put some more of this color back on it also. So that's probably good enough. You're not gonna see that. If you do, I'll be surprised. Okay, my bottom is clean. If it's not, go back with your wet damp sponge. And this is a dry sponge. It's making dust I shouldn't breathe. Go back with your sponge and just clean it up if it's not clean. And then you'll take that project, you'll take this project and you'll go and you'll put it on the greenware, or the, sorry, you'll take this project and you'll go put it on the glazeware shelf. And what that means is it's ready to fire. And then I or whoever fires your stuff will take it, put it in the kiln, fire it up, take it out, and then you'll have a finished piece ready to go. Okay, that's how we glaze with using Potter's Choice today, and Albany Slip and Light Sepia. All right. Make sure you do those 3 coats. If you do less, for example, if I do less than 3 coats, it's going to be more of that brown color. If I do less than 3 coats on this one, it's going to be more of that brown color also. So if I want to get that gray, or if I want to get that real cream color, then I need to make sure that I get those 3 coats in there. Any questions?
Yeah, when can I go paint?
Leave it in the comments.
Oh.
I just kidding. When can you come in and glaze? Benny, you want to come in tomorrow for APR?
Okay.
You can. I should be here.
Oh, I was gonna say I have a bowl here that I sprayed. If you want me to show it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Like the surface of yours is sprayed?
Yeah.
Okay, you can show it. Let's see what it looks like.
So let me see if I can get better lighting.
Oh, you know what? I have something that I've sprayed too, and I can talk about it for the video. Because we're still live. That'll work. Okay, yeah, put that this one. No, good question. Hold on a second. I'll answer this. All right. When dipping your projects into glaze, so if this is a bucket and I dipped inside of it, when I dip inside of it, it's a quick dip. It's not hold it for a long time, and it's not dip it 3 times, the same as you would do your glaze. And it's not the same as doing 3 coats with the paint on. The paint on you do 3 coats because it's thin. The dip, you dip it once, and the dipping glaze actually has a few different chemicals because it's different. It adheres a little bit differently. This one has a little bit more of a gum chemical to it so that you can paint it on a little bit easier. When spraying, it's going to be thinned out. You're going to add water to your glaze, so you're going to need to spray more coats to it. So here you can see how it's nice and thick here, and then it gets real thin here. Well, because when we were spraying like this, and then the bottom section didn't get as much of the spray, so it was thinner. Sometimes we like that effect. You actually use a lot less glaze when spraying than when dipping and painting, okay? But it might not come out as thick as you want it to sometimes. Sometimes, for example, let's say the light sepia, I go and I spray it on, and I want that gray color, but because I sprayed it on, it comes out a brown color because it's a little too thin. So you need to be careful with your color and how it's going to come out when you spray it. Okay, this one, it's kind of hard to see the inside. This one was sprayed also on the inside, but you can see how the color changes because it didn't get everywhere the spray gun. Okay, so the areas that the spray gun does not reach will be thinner, because that's just pretty much overspray. It's not actually the glaze. But sometimes we like that effect. When you dip it, it'll be thicker. Sometimes you'll even get a few runs to it, and then if you don't smooth it out really well, you might be able to still see it in the finished product. Okay, so dip once, spray quite a few layers, paint on like 3 or maybe 4 layers. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. With that other brush, can you do 3 coats? I mean, 1 more coat on this one with this color. All right. I'm going to end.